So I was watching a interview by Bill Clinton on regards in CBS News about America's culture wars, which also highlighted parts of his reaction to Trump's victory in 2024. And I kind of do agree with that. That like pretty much all of this media manipulation by the mainstream news channels that are being funded by big donors who especially work for these big companies, and they spread around these culture wars and they manipulate the American public. And that's true. And that has led to the result of the downrotten of the American society pretty much turning to very right wing. And this is true because, in one aspect, he said that, the defeat of Kamala Harris last year is the result of the type of culture wars that are being funded by these right wing big donors who fund these independent media channels who are actually they're being funded by them. And of course all this right wing conservative internet commentators, also known as pundits, who go around spread all this racist, sexist like rhetorics, and not realizing that the people who are actually watching these people are very ultra rich and they have the money to start these podcasts and start spreading all this misinformation and propaganda regarding about, like, you say that a woman runs for office or any person of color who runs for office, and that really has led to the result of the fact that America's not ready for a woman president. Well, it matter the fact that yes, America's ready for a woman president, but the type of sexism in the American society that has been played by these, you know, ultra rich oligarchs, whether regardless tech, oil, etc. And they fund these media channels and these commentators to spread this type of propaganda and spread it all to the masses and poison their minds with this such of distorted information. And of course, that's where disinformation comes from. So, to be that said, you know, that the United States and pretty much of the West has pretty much leaned to right wing ideas because, well, there are people in these countries that are left leaning and they're leaning towards the left because, they've become more informed than before. And so that's why they, shift to, these ideologies. But I think of the matter of the fact is that, where Bill Clinton highlighted that if a woman was running as a Republican, conservative, and she's white, she probably wouldn't have much likely got a chance. That part is kind of true. And I'm not saying that that should be accepted, but Margaret Thatcher of the UK was a prime example who ran in such conservative right wing anti socialist rhetorics when, her campaign as prime minister in England. And that actually worked out well. While Mexico doesn't have the same type of no, hush, no. While Mexico has this type of problem, like between the indigenous people and those people of Spanish descent, but they've likely elected the current president, who is like a left-leaning socialist, and someone who really cares about the policies of the people. And so that's how it played out over there. But like, the thing is that, like, the reason why there's this media outlets and YouTube, the internet, because people from the tech or the oil industrial complex, they have billions and billions of dollars, and they can fund these commentators, podcasts, internet news, and they can use that mass propaganda to spread it all around to the audiences who have access to the internet and brainwash them with this type of ideas. I mean, that part is also true. So there was like this transgender now elected to Congress and used the platform of like the policies that really marketed to the people in her area, but she didn't use that type of diversity trans thing to get herself elected. The thing is that, like, the very ultra rich and oligarchy in the United States has done a very fantastic job to really keep Americans poorly informed. That's why, you know, and they did a good job in brainwashing and uneducating the people who live in the rural areas. That's why a lot of people in the rural areas really tend to vote ignorantly and willfully ignorant and based on some, oh, because he's white, Republican, conservative, or whatever. It's because the people in the rurals do not have the same access and education as the people who live in the cities. So I think it really, regardless of like liberal, Democrat, progressive, left, whatever, well, labels, I really don't care about them anyway, but they should do something to help develop these rural areas and help educate them in the political and societal and cultural landscape of their surroundings within the whole country. So, this is what has been the contribution of the rurals who tend to vote wrongly throughout the elections, general, presidential, and midterm elections. So, it should be the job of between the state, local, and federal governments to really help develop and educate well informed these people who come from these areas. So that's actually one thing why, you know, somebody in the progressive leaning or someone that comes from a diverse background doesn't usually get elected in these areas. The other highlight there is that, like, the amount of brainwashing and the has led to these results of the fact that last year, let's say North Carolina overwhelmingly voted for Donald Trump on the presidential ticket, a Republican, while they overwhelmingly voted for a Democrat, Josh Stein, who currently the Supreme Court of North Carolina is trying to block his certification of the victory and the winning. So it boils down to the type of sexism that our pop culture in our podcasts, media news channels have played in making sure that a woman does not get elected as president, regardless if it's Republican, Democrat, progressive, liberal, conservative. So that is the one thing that you should keep in mind, is that, like, when you help educate, you help inform this, an average person. Of course, the other person on the other side who is trying to preserve their status quo and preserve their wealth will automatically label you as a communist or a terrorist, even though that this type of ideology is not affiliated with educating and informing people. So I think that, like, this is a wake up call that, you know um, many Americans should be well educated, and they should be well informed, and they should do their very best to research and help counter this culture wars conducted by wealthy people on the right wing of the political spectrum. And there's a lot of people out there who are trying to use that money and wealth to get themselves elected and dismantle the education system and enforce the schooling and schools under their heel. And that's why some have been successful in running for office and getting elected, because they have money and they're being backed by powerful people. And of course, a dangerous organization called Moms for Liberty, which advocates for book burning. And that's why they have been, very successful, because of this mass propaganda they have successfully brainwashed to the very ignorant people. So I'm not saying that there is going to be a revolt nor is a revolution, but there's a lot of people there who are waking up after the election, and especially with this trend called fuck around and find out. So it seems like a lot of people are finding out after the election, after they voted for Trump, and they are expressing their biggest remorse ever. So, yeah.